Hello people, I'm technically on a hiatus right now and I'm not making videos because I have a couple of personal things going on and I am working on my personal projects, and it's technically a not periphery channel here, although I am into periphery and like keyboards and mice. It's just not something that I'm that passionate about, but there are some news that I'm obliged to tell you. Zowie just took the biggest fucking L they probably ever did. But before I explain, I need to preface this with a story. Me and my good friend Toxic Bikini got into the world of like top of the line periphery roughly around 3 years ago and at the same time. And for all those years, if there was anything constant that we said to each other, it was, man, I wish Zowie made a wireless mouse. And I know it was a community sentiment all around, because we remember times when Zowie wasn't necessarily the top of the market, but let's say 7 years ago, they were a stone reliable alternative to the mainline brands that was, again, stone reliable, it was popular, it was understated looks, you know, good internals, all that stuff. So as the whole thing of gaming mice moved to wireless, why not make a wireless Zowie? Thought me and Toxic. And guess what? Zowie just announced, 2023 just started and it's already a disaster. Because Zowie just announced a wireless mouse. To be precise, EC2 wireless in 3 sizes. And if you haven't watched the disaster that is the presentation, and it is a PowerPoint presentation with just voiceover, you should watch it before you watch this video. It's nothing interesting, just for the context, because the whole presentation, I shit you not, is about Zowie's shape. That is not Zowie's anymore. The whole main selling point of the mouse, judging by the video, is their shape, which is not exclusive to them anymore. Pulsar, if I remember correctly, makes mice that are a copy of an EC2, but better, lighter, and with better internals. And the only technical specification that we got so far is that it uses a 3370 sensor, and it costs $150 in US. We will come back to the price later, because it's actually even more fucking retarded in Europe in terms of the price. And I also should mention that there was a post on Reddit about the guy having the privilege to test it for a while before it was actually unveiled, and I believe the NDA was lifted, so he posted on Reddit, ask any questions, etc, etc. I haven't checked that post, so maybe we know what switches are in the mouse, but in the presentation there was no information about encoder and switches. And I want to quote my own comment on Reddit, which is extremely moronic of me, but nonetheless I do want to quote this comment that I left on Reddit. The lack of info on encoder and switches, in all likelihood, means that they're shit. Because I don't see any other reason for Zowie to not tell us what switches and encoder the mouse uses. Because I'm pretty sure Zowie has enough people to have a research and development part of the company. Or at least they can borrow people from BenQ, which is a rather big company. And they see that the main selling point of mice nowadays are the technical specifications. So why the fuck aren't you saying what switches and encoder you have? And obviously, a 3370 is also kind of a problem. I don't mind 3370 existing in a mouse. It's a good sensor, it's top of the line sensor. Yes, it's a bit older, but it's not like it's a shit sensor. The problem with a 3370 in a Zowie mouse is not about 3370 being shit. It's about 3370 existing in a $150 mouse. Because in all honesty, and we are assuming that switches and encoder are shit, or at least like not top of the market, GM 8.0 and like blue dot, pink shell, Juanos or whatever. Like, not top of the market. If we are comparing it to the existing mice that are selling right now, the mouse itself should be 70 euros. Then we put a BenQ name on it, and we add up the charging dongle thing. And we come out in total about 90 to 100 euros. I would be perfectly fine with that price, even for the 3370 and shit switches and encoder, because I can desolder those and make a mouse actually good with my own aftermarket stuff. But no, it's $150 in US and 190 euros in EU without the delivery. And, you know, deliveries can be iffy in EU. For me, for example, deliveries will be probably atrocious because I live in a quite remote part of EU right now. It's subject to change. So it's not about 3370 being shit. It's about the mouse being inappropriately priced. And, like, incredibly so. Because G Pro X, Logitech G Pro X, is also overpriced. But at least it has top-of-the-line components in it, you know? And it's also on discounts all the fucking time. So a lot of people online had the same sentiment as I do about Zowie's new unveilment. And I even left a comment on YouTube like many others. And I went on with my life. And now I load up Reddit today. And some guy leaked a response from WeChat, might I add, which is really ironic, because if you don't know, BenQ, as far as I'm concerned, is a Taiwanese company, and WeChat is a Chinese messaging app, which is really funny, because in all likelihood, WeChat is being read by CCP like crazy. So it's really funny that Taiwanese company uses WeChat, but I'm going off topic here. The point is, the response is extremely passive-aggressive and inappropriate. And the guy is probably getting fired or at least demoted for this, I hope, because that's not how you lead business. But let me read translation for you. As far as I can tell, it's a rough translation with like Google Translate, but it is what we have. So here's the response. Judging by public opinions from recent, there are some things I have to say. Maybe after a while, the proportion of pros using it and market feedback, we would see some results. But for now, I can't even get a good sleep. When Zowie doesn't come out with wireless, you hate us. When we do come out with one, you still hate us. What nonsense, you people probably had a bad life this year. So here's the thing. Nobody hates you, Zowie. People asking you to come out with a wireless mouse is feedback. People love your mouse, and they want a wireless version of it. Same as happening right now. It's not hatred. It's feedback. We want to see a good mouse from Zowie, not a piece of shit with a 3370 for 150 or 190. It's feedback, Zowie, and you should use it to research, redevelop the mouse, and come out with a good mouse for a good price. And might I add, yes, we did have a bad couple of years. All of us did. You know, COVID happened. We sat at home in our countries that not all of us like. And, you know, but not in terms of periphery. We actually had a lot of good years in terms of mice. Because now we have small companies that make mice for $100 that are top of the market in terms of their internals. But I'm going off topic here, so continuing with the response. Sensor 3370 adjusted by Zowie. Here's the thing. You can adjust the sensor all you want. It doesn't make it a suitable sensor for the price bracket, nonetheless. And what the fuck are you adjusting? Like, everybody adjusts sensors for their mouse. It's just a bunch of marketing bullshit. What does it mean adjusted by Zowie? Yes, obviously, when you develop your own mouse, you adjust the sensor for it. That's what's called firmware development. Let's continue. First, let's say wire sensor 3360. So I believe this is they're talking about the wired version of EC2 having a 3360. I know all kinds of streamers and pro players. I've never heard people saying it's bad or it's not as accurate as others. That's not the point, Zowie. It's not about 3370 or 3360 being shit. It's about a mouse for $150, 190 euros with an outdated sensor. So it's 3370. You as a C+ player, even with a 3950, you're still a C+ player. Yes, again, it's not about the sensor being shit. I know you can just hate on it because it's not the newest. At first, I was also wondering why this much anticipated doesn't use the newest sensor. The answer is simple. We need fucking time to adjust. First of all, unprofessional. Second of all, you had years to adjust, Zowie. In those adjustment years, totally new players came onto the market. People like Lamzu that literally have only one mouse haven't been on the market for a year, I think. And yet they made the best mouse of 2022. If you can buy a sensor and use it, then why do you need Zowie to make it for you? Because you are a bigger A-brand company, Zowie. For a lot of people, even if you don't have the same amount of people working for you, for a lot of the community, Zowie is the brand on par with Razer and Logitech. You are expected to make better products and move the whole industry forward. That's why we anticipate a $39.95 from you. I believe that's the latest one. Let me check real quick. Yeah, it's a $33.95. That's the one that the top mice use. So yes, we expect you to come out with a $33.95 mouse because you are Zowie and you had so much time to actually develop a mouse. Because might I add, people like me and Toxic were asking for a wireless Zowie mouse as far back as 3 years ago. In those 3 years, people like Fantac made an actually worth it mouse. People like Pulsar came onto the market. People like Extrafy came onto the market. Extrafy might have been there longer, but they came onto the market with actually good mice. And Lamzu came onto the market. So what's your problem, Zowie? Then the price, $150. Holy Jesus, all of you are having an orgasm over this, comparing us to some fucking brands that not only focusing on some fucking brands that only focusing on good-looking numbers. What do you mean by that? Like, literally. What do you mean by that? $100 or €100 is not good-looking numbers. It's just a number. People like Fantac sell their Aria for €68. That's not even a... Like, at least make it 69, brother. It's expensive, yes, but you can still afford it if you really want it. That's not an argument. It's the same thing as saying, oh yes, well, Mercedes Maybach is expensive, yes, but you can still afford it if you really want. No, it's an overpriced car. It's an overpriced car. You can buy a fucking GR Yaris that will be faster than Maybach around the track. Like, what's the point? And the price won't go down, makes the price more stable if you want to resell it, right? Here's the thing, Zowie. Nobody's gonna resell a mouse that nobody's gonna buy. People who are actually good at games and prefer better periphery buy mice like Pulsar and Lamzu now. G Pro X, Viper V2, Death Adder V3, all the top of the line mice, they buy those. The only people who still have BenQ mice, Zowie mice, are 30-year-olds that don't play anything except Team Fortress. And you really think that those people will buy your new mouse for a shit ton of money and then resell it? No. Reselling and all that kind of crap happens with the people who are actually interested in the subject most of the time. But the Zowie mice users are not interested in the mice field. They just buy Zowie because they bought the Zowie their whole life. And it's an incredibly small community that's left of those people. Right? So what's the point of reselling it? Like, I don't... and don't compare us with those cheap Black Friday mouses. You buy a Zowie mouse for its grip feeling. Don't make yourself uncomfortable using other mouse for another few months. Just you can wait for Black Friday, blah, blah, blah. First of all, stop speaking about your shape. Your shape is not unique. First, people like Pulsar have mice that mimic your EC2. And not only Pulsar, all of the brands are already mimicking your mice because you were procrastinating for 7 years instead of making mice. Deal with it. Your shape is not unique. Second thing, shape is a subjective criteria. You don't rate a mouse by its shape. There are people who are more comfortable with a Death Header. There are people who are more comfortable with a G502, God bless. There are a lot of people who are more comfortable with a G Pro X. You know, I like the shape of a G305, for example. So the shape is a subjective thing. There is no such thing as a universal mouse for everyone, so stop implying that EC2 is a universal mouse for every grip type and every hand shape. It's not. It's simply not. And I'll tell you more, EC2 in every size that you have on the website is still a mouse for bigger hands, which cuts off half of the market already. So no, it's not a unique shape that suits everyone. No, it's not. And those are not Black Friday mice, Zowie. I realize that there is a whole dynamic, Taiwan versus China. You're a Taiwanese company. Most of the popular mice right now are Chinese companies, I realize, but that's unprofessional. And stop molding over your own competition. You're supposed to learn their lessons and make a mouse better than they do. Not call them cheap Black Friday mice, because they might not be well known in the lammer world, but they are gaining recognition very fast, and they are making mice that are better than all of your modern offerings, Zowie. It's the reality. It's called competition, and you don't mold over it. You go and make a good mouse. You buy a shit ton of Lamzo, Pulsars, Fantech Arias, and all those mice. You take them apart, you use them, you realize why people love them, and then you develop your own product for... I would love to see a competitive price, but if you can't, that's fine. I would be fine with your new EC2 wireless being $119 if it was at least a top mouse in terms of insides, but it's not. In all likelihood, it's already not the top sensor. It's a sensor that comes in fucking $60 mice. Even $60 mice. Fantech Aria comes with a $33.95, brother. So, stop molding over it. You made a shitty mouse, you got your shit shoved back into your own face, and now you're molding over your own competition being Black Friday mice. They're not. They're not. They're just better than you. So yeah, that's the whole debacle with EC2. I am going back into my hiatus. If you really want to figure out what I'm doing, what are the personal projects, you should go over to my Git-Hub. Maybe someday I will develop my own mouse and I will not mold over people saying that it's too expensive. Thank you for watching. I just wanted to cover this real quick. It's a fucking 20-minute video, not really quick, but it is what it is. Gaming content coming as soon as I will figure out my personal life matters and where do I live. So yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye.